Because for me, there is no more important foreign relationship for the United States to have than with Israel. The fight that Israel has is the fight that we have, because the enemy that Israel is fighting over there wants to come to the United States as well. So I can't wait to get to Congress and make sure that I do everything possible that America stands with Israel and Israel stands with America. An honor to be here, and I thank AIPAC for all the support they've given me.
Unions, telecom, groceries, airlines, the works. Canadians get hosed because there's no competition. Airlines, just Air Canada and WestJet charging double, triple, quadruple what Americans pay for a quick flight. Why? Unions bolt the market tighter than a bank vault, Ottawa chips and competition killing regulations, and your plane ticket's basically a mortgage payment?
Joe, it's a rigged game. Total train wreck. Canada's got two airlines acting like cartel bosses, unions running the show like greedy bouncers. Domestic flights, 1,500 for Toronto to Vancouver, while Americans jet coast to coast for chump change. Government piles on taxes, regulations, and fees like it's a cash grab, protecting these monopolies because they're pocketing the votes. Cost of living, through the roof. Canadians are getting mugged at the checkout.
Cackles, it's like paying steak prices for a burger. Unions strike whenever, spitting on court orders, while Mark Carney's on holiday dodging the chaos. Ottawa couldn't care less. Competition Bureau begs for foreign airlines, but they're like, nah, keep the gouge fest. Canadians are flying to the U.S. just to afford a seat.
Absolute waste, Joe. In the U.S., open competition, dozens of airlines, prices drop like a bad stock. I'd bust those monopolies, unleash freedom. Canada loves unions more than maple syrup, but it's killing them. Wake up, eh? Or you're stuck paying premium for a puddle jumper.
Canada, your monopolies are a union heist robbing you blind. Don, let's import America's free market mojo and bury these price gouging losers under a landslide of U.S. freedom.
Check it out. Dustin Hoffman, Rain Man, look retarded, act retarded, not retarded. Count two picks, cheated cards. Autistic, sure, not retarded. They got Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. Slow, yes, retarded maybe, braces on his legs, but he charmed the pants off next to him and they won a ping pong competition? That ain't retarded. Peter Sellers being there. Infantile, yes, retarded, no. You went full retard, man. Never go full retard. You don't buy that? Ask Sean Penn, 2001, I am Sam. Remember? Went full retard. Went home empty-handed.
I never watched that movie all the way through, but I do remember seeing clips from Robert Downey. He was ridiculously funny in that movie.
Full retard.
He had me believing he was a black guy. I'm sorry. If you didn't tell me, if I didn't know that was Robert Downey Jr., I'd have been like, oh, he's a black guy.
Dude, that's Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't. That's Robert Downey Jr.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, he stole that show. What was that, Tropic Thunder?
Something.
That was the name of it. Tropic Thunder? He stole that show. I remember when it came out, everybody was like, did you see Robert Downey Jr.? He played a black guy better than a black guy.
That was great. I didn't even know it. That's how good that was then.
That's how good he was. Welcome back to the front line with Joe and Joe, everybody. Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. We're going way in the breach. Hi, Antonella. She right now is the only person in the chat room. That's going to fill up pretty soon. So this is going to be a really good conversation because we want to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to talk about Canada, like in general, because again, we talk about Canada because number one, we have audience members who are in Canada, and also because what happens north of the border, I mean, they are our closest neighbor, them in Mexico. And it's going to have some kind of an effect. It's not like we just isolate Canada and not think about, the Canadians. And they're a disaster. I mean, Mark Carney and Ford, and what's the guy's name? Doug Ford? Is it Doug Ford?
Dougie Ford in Ottawa. He's like
Dougie Ford.
Yeah, he's like the head of like that region, almost like a governor type of thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and the reason why we talk about Canada is because Canada is not far away from where America can be. Because Canada
9 years, Joe. That took 9 years, and it's a disaster. People should pay very close attention to that. I mean, Canada was a thriving country. People owned homes. People had a good standard of living, and it's a wasteland. 9 years, and they doubled down on stupid by electing Mark Carney. And basically, how they did that, they basically united the nation around bad Donald Trump. Everyone jumped on board. They keep beating that drum. And they're getting destroyed. They can't buy food. Basics.
I'll only correct you in one way. They also, the other boneheaded move. The first boneheaded move was Justin Trudeau.
Oh, horrible disaster.
But it shows you. But here's the thing. And I saw Tucker Tucker was doing an interview with David Callum, who's an organic chemistry
Oh, that's a
professor.
great conversation,
A
dude.
great conversation. And the fact is, and Tucker's been mentioning this lately a lot. And the reason why I thought about it, because what you just said, home ownership in America, 30 years ago was a lot different than it is now. Now you own a home. I'm 57 years old. I don't own a home. Now, can I afford one? Yeah. Is it going to be the type of home that let's say something decent here in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area? Probably not. And the thing is, I'm 57. I don't own a home. Okay. Now there's a few factors there, but in general, what they were talking about, what Tucker was talking about with David Callum, is that's the average age, by the way, of the point at which a family, the father of a family is able to buy a home now is in the mid 50s. It used to be
Yeah, I heard that too.
it used to be when you were in your 20s, Joe. You could save up enough money, you and your wife, over the course of a few years, and put that down payment on a house. Your parents did it in North Arlington. My parents did it in Newark. You can't do that.
No,
You
I
can't do
mean,
that.
I don't know where he got that stat. I've heard that the average person, and I believe this, 38 is getting married, man, because basically to establish yourself, it's very difficult now. People come out of college, they're in massive amounts of debt. They got to pay that off. Then you got to save money, for a home, and like obviously if you have kids, that costs money too. So 38, as I don't know where he got that. However, it's a point, and it's a valid one. It's becoming out of reach for average people. The statistic that I heard that I think is very telling, like say 10 years ago, I heard this from Charlie Kirk. The average home price was 3 times the average starting home price, 3 times the average salary of a man in America. So say the average salary is like $66,000. This is coast to coast. So you can get a starting home average, the mean in America, say for a little under 200,000. Now it's 7 times. That was in a matter of 10 years due to the inflation caused by, frankly, the COVID friggin' debacle, printing money, devaluing the dollar. People,
Right.
by me, diners are closing. The Lyndhurst Diner, which was a staple diner for those who don't live in my area. I'm talking about like a mom and pop. Mom and pops are closing. They can't afford to be
They
around.
can't afford it. Yeah,
And
they
this
can't afford it.
And this is frankly what the oligarchs want. This
Yep.
is exactly what they want. Notice this in your neighborhood. I notice this like when I drive, like on Route 3, which goes into Manhattan from New Jersey. All of the businesses are basically cookie cutter, like, standard like businesses. They're not mom and pops, like whether
Right.
it's like Charlie Brown's or whether it's, all these like cookie cutter bars. There is
Yep.
no originality anymore.
Right.
That's what America used to be. That is gone. All of the strip malls are like that. This is in New Jersey. By the way, I mean, I live 12 miles from Manhattan. This is hardly a depressed area. It's
Right.
not rich, but it's functioning because it's expensive to live here. But people have work because we live off of New York City. We're basically a barnacle on the back of New York City. All the mom and pops are gone. They're just disappearing, and that is exactly what they want. And
Yeah.
it has everything to do with controlling the once thriving middle class. This is a fact, Joe.
Well, it's like nobody. I thought, I'm hoping whatever. I mean, I'm not going to get into bashing Trump. I thought this was supposed to be a revolutionary moment in America when he got reelected. I really did. I thought these things were going to get addressed. They're not getting addressed.
Well,
I'm
it's funny you
sorry,
say
they're
that.
not.
Father Imperato, who's very active for those who don't know him on social media, you should check out his show. He has a lot of good insight, good priest. He was a layman for many years. He became a priest in his 50s. Anyway, when the big, beautiful bill passed, Father Imperato, again, no fool, smart guy, has his finger on the pulse. His post, same as the old boss. Like it's the same stuff. Like
The
Trump
new boss, same as the old boss.
that was his post, and that is the perfect labeling for that bill. That bill, you see, Trump has pushed certain things, no question about it. And there are certain things I could point to that I said I'm very happy with what he did. When it came to that, same old, same old. That bill is because he wasn't willing to go that far. He's still playing within the big game, the big realm. And frankly, the big game has brought us to this point where people can't afford a home. You really want to play ball, like in terms of break up BlackRock, break them up, break up Google, break them up. They're too big. This is the type of stuff that I want. Like break up BlackRock. Be like, dude, you own such large positions of just about every Fortune 500 company. And by the way, Larry Fink now is the head of the WEF because Klaus Schwab is like 106 and he has like gone to Mordor. Like they threw him into the lava pit. So now Larry Fink is running the WEF.
I don't know how anybody can. I don't know how anybody could look at the concentration of power and wealth in this country, and not say, "Look, let's be fair to Trump. He's got to deal with Republicans." My first impulse, knee-jerk reaction would be blame them before you blame Trump. I think he would have the stones to take that step you were just talking about, but I think because he's got to deal with them. Remember something, Joe. The Democrats pay off their buddies. The Republicans pay off theirs.
Chamber of Commerce Republicans are not the friend of the American people.
Hey, listen, we interviewed, for those of you out there who want to see a really good interview, we interviewed Eric Sammons last week. We were talking about Bitcoin, all right? And a lot of this theme was coming up about control. And Joe and I learned a lot. And I would emphasize it's on X Rumble or X Facebook and YouTube. You can go see it. Just put in Joe and Joe, Eric Sammons, moral money, and it'll pop up. This is we were talking about this the other day, is that, the Republicans the Republicans would be just as interested in controlling Bitcoin as the Democrats would be, because they need to maintain control. Okay. So when you get something, and I'm just using Bitcoin as an example, which kind of gives you a little bit more, you get the feeling it gives you a little bit more independence. When you go and buy Bitcoin. I got a buddy of mine. He doesn't make a lot of money. He just went and bought $5,000 worth of Bitcoin because the bottom line is the government can't control it. He even said China tried to ban it a couple times and was unsuccessful.
Yeah.
This is the type of thing we're dealing with, that Trump would be willing, I think, to do some things. But again, people don't like this word, but it's the proper word to use. Uniparty. We have a uniparty. The Republicans don't give a damn about abortion. They're not going to do anything. Yeah. They kicked that to the courts, and they were so happy when Roe versus Wade got overturned, because then they could say, now I don't have to talk about abortion.
No, 100%.
So this is where now the rest of the job that they're going to do is just continually to rape the middle class in this country to the point where we're beaten and battered and dead.
Well, it's heading in that direction. And ultimately, this is where people, and again, Charlie Kirk pointed this out as well. I think he's 100% right. That's why we're seeing Mandani in New York. He's a symptom of hopelessness. You see, when people see no way out, like it doesn't work for me. The system does not work for me. I graduated college with a 3.0 from Hofstra. It's a decent school. I studied accounting. I owe $175,000 a year, and I got a job for $46,000. And I've been doing it for 7 years. I started at 46. Now I make 58. I can't pay off my debt. I can't get out of my parents' basement. I can't move forward. I can't save money. So what do? You look to a strong man. So they look to this guy who's promising basically false hope. And that's what communism is. And because he is just nothing more than a cultural communist, he is a disaster and will further destroy New York City, which is already on the verge of being destroyed. But then what could happen is then when people get sick and that guy doesn't come through, then they actually will get a fascist. People say Trump's a fascist. Trump is not a fascist. Now, he may have some things you don't like. Trump is not a fascist. You will get one, though. If you keep pushing further from the left, why do you think Donald Trump exists? It's because of Barack Obama. He's a reaction to Barack Obama. You will get a fascist, and it will flip back and forth, trying to fill a hole that cannot be filled by a strong man. Ultimately, the system no longer works for regular people. It does not work for regular people anymore.
But regular people, Joe, are either getting duped or they're not doing anything about
Well,
it.
they're not paying attention, mostly, Joe. They still think it's 30 years back. They're still on those models. I watch it on social media just as an observer, as a trend, watching trends. People are still thinking along those models. It doesn't work anymore, that model. You have to start thinking outside the box. You have to start talking about that great conversation with that gentleman. This is a guy, a PhD, professor at Cornell University, brilliant man. He basically said in his prediction, now this is a guy who does have his finger on the pulse of science because he's a scientist. He's an organic chemistry teacher. He thinks 70% of the American jobs are going to change as a result of AI. 70. And here's another thing.
We're gonna talk
it's
about
not
that.
just going to be low income jobs. Certain doctors are not going to be needed anymore.
Oh, well, we
Certain
got a clip.
engineers.
We got a clip from Yuval Harari. We're going to play you in a little bit here at the front line with Joe and Joe. He's telling you, and Joe and I have been saying that this guy is the most disgusting, vile creature on earth. Okay. And the words that come out of his mouth, you would think if you didn't know who the guy was, you'd think you were listening to a Nazi.
Oh, 100%. Joe, and here's the thing. What they say, people aren't listening to. We're not listening to the right conversation. If the world was fair, meaning the media, every single media outlet should play that clip and basically inform people that the power behind everything, meaning the CEOs of BlackRock, the CEOs of Vanguard, the CEOs of massive banks, the CEOs of massive, this is what they're thinking.
Right.
And that affects you. It affects your kids. But yet, we're asleep at the wheel. We still think it's 30 years ago. We're going to buy our nice little house. My son, he's going to go to Rutgers. He's going to be an accountant. He's going to have his 2.3 kids. He's going to be fine. He's going to retire in Lavallette, New Jersey. Wrong.
Right.
Wrong. That is just out of the question.
Right.
It is a completely different era that doesn't work anymore.
Well, let's go to crazy.
Unlike some of the state that president, they are divisive. They are us and them. We believe that when we come together, we are stronger because of our love, because of our diversity. That is who we are as proud Canadians. Which is why I don't think we're ever going to be 51st state of America. Absolutely no way.
Is she a real person?
Yes. Sick.
Like she's that's why we're stronger, because of our love and our diversity. I'm trying to think in my mind, how is she not? How can anybody say that woman is not on hard drugs?
For those who don't know who that is, that's the mayor of Toronto. Toronto is a massive city. For people who, might not know that, Toronto is a massive city. That's the mayor. Why is that clip important? Because what she's showing is her hand. The strategy is to unite around Donald Trump. It's basically like against Donald Trump. It's basically like a sleight of hand move. Look what I'm doing here. Look what I'm doing here. Meanwhile, she's picking your pocket. Meanwhile, she's driving an ideology down your throat. That is a globalist tactic. And that is what we've seen in Europe. That is what we've seen with Joe Biden, who is nothing more than a globalist puppet. And that is what is happening in Canada right now. It is a tactic. And people fell for it, Joe. Pierre Poilievre shouldn't have been the premier of Canada. He was up. That is a historic disaster from a political perspective. If you look at how he was positioned in the polls in a matter of 3 months, he lost the election to nothing more than an ideologue who is destroying the regular man. And America should pay attention to that.
Well, don't ever accuse me, Joe. Don't ever say I didn't give you anything. I just gave you, what's her name?
Chow? Oh, Olivia Chow.
Olivia Chow. Here, I got more for you.
Donald Trump is so unpredictable. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing tomorrow morning. So let's start focusing on creating that environment.
But is there an acceptance? Is there an acceptance, I guess, from leaders that we'll just have the tariffs?
Again, the prime minister will speak on that, but the president is unpredictable. He'll come out with some cockamamie thing tomorrow that we don't even know about.
So
right?
do you think that Mark Carney is being too elbows down in response to that unpredictability?
Not at all. He's doing an incredible job. He's working collaboratively with 12 other premiers and myself, and working as Team Canada. And he's doing a very, very good job, in my opinion.
Okay, let me stop him there because Doug Ford's going to make me puke. Here, this is what I would say. Listen, Mr. Ford, Mayor Ford, what is he, Joe? He's
like a province. It's like a governor of.
Okay, like so call him a governor. You can't predict what Donald Trump's going to do because he's reacting to whatever all you and your 12 premiers are going to do. Because you people are not on the same page. If you said once and for all, this is what we're going to do, then guess what? Donald Trump has no need to move from here to here to here. The fact that you're saying that, Mr. Ford, is because Trump's ahead of you on this. He's 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of you. He doesn't want you to predict what he's going to do. What do you think? He's stupid? Don't answer that because we know you all think he's stupid. He's not. He doesn't want you to know what he's going to do. He's waiting to see what you're going to do. And I'm telling you this right now for everybody in Canada, okay? We don't need Canada. I wish somebody would just come out and tell Mr. Ford, listen, when it comes to Donald Trump, you better do business with the guy and you better suck it up on the tariffs. You want to know why? America does not need Canada. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything from them. We could do it ourselves. Canada needs us. This is a reality, Joe. This is called reality for the Canadian people and for the Canadian government. America could shut down and say, you know what? We're not taking any of your products. Nothing. No oil, no timber, nothing. Not one single thing are we taking from you. Canada will be a basket case, even worse than it is now. Somebody ought to tell that to this Jamoke. Somebody ought to tell that to Carney. He's got to deal with Trump. We're going to come together. We're going to talk tough. Tough your ass. What are you talking about? You can't get tough with the United States when you have nothing to get tough with, Dougie. You can't.
And you know something, Joe? They know that. It's a tactic to unite the people on their side. Once again, it's the same tactic. I love how he says Team Canada. Tell that to the guy that's trying to buy groceries. Doesn't sound like it's too much of a team when he can't afford his bills. I'm sure you can, Doug. I'm sure Mark Carney can too. You see, again, people they get caught up in the propaganda, and it's nothing more than that, propaganda. You know, Doug Ford basically positions himself almost like a moderate, like leaning right in the middle, leaning right. For anyone who is listening to this, who is that type of person, and many people are actually moderates that lean right. America used to be that way overall. Does that sound like he's on your side? Is Mark Carney on your side when you can't basically feed your family? You can't put gas in your car? These are basic things. This is not extravagant things. Like that one could say, like superfluous, like items, like, oh, I want to buy a fancy watch, or I'd like to have, like, you know what I'm saying, like something that's extra. This is basics. Canada and the people of Canada can't meet the basic needs of their families. And he's talking about Team Canada. Doug, it doesn't sound like too much of a team to me.
No, it doesn't. And the shame of it is, and I think I've said this before at the front line with Joe and Joe, my family, my mother's side, right? Her siblings, 3 of her siblings, did not come to the United States when they left southern Italy. They went to Canada. They went to I have cousins in Niagara Falls, St. Catharines area, okay? And they went there because this is the 1950s, 1960s, okay? They went to Canada, Joe, because guess who was there? Ford and Chrysler and GM, okay? On the Niagara Falls side, of the Canadian side of Niagara Falls, you had plants there. You had men that would go out and go to work and make good livings, okay? Canada was a good place to be. I spent a lot of time in Canada when I was a kid. I wouldn't step foot in Canada right now. I don't know how my cousins are doing it. They're probably not getting along that well up there. But the thing is, but again, this is what we talk about all the time, and nobody wants to effing listen. Okay, this is not about politics. This is about global ideology. Here,
100%, Joe.
Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. If you're in Canada or if you're in the United States and you don't own a home or you're teetering with a job that AI, and by the way, well, we'll talk about that after. Let me play this and then we'll come back. Let me play this.
One of the biggest things happening in the world right now is a shift in authority from humans to algorithms, to AI. Now, increasingly, this decision about you, about your life, is done by an AI. One of the biggest dangers with this new technology is that, a lot of jobs will disappear. So the biggest question in the job market would be whether you are able to retrain yourself to fill the new job, and whether the government is able to create this vast educational system to retrain the population. People will need to retrain themselves, or if they can't do it, then if you can't do it, the danger is you fall down to a new class, not unemployed, but unemployable, the useless class. People who don't have any skills that the new economy needs.
Does any normal person, right wing, left wing, liberal, conservative, anybody going to sit down and listen to that? Any working blue collar person going to sit down and listen to that and say, how does this guy have a public forum? How does he have a platform to speak from? Why is he not universally condemned? Because those in control, he is their spokesman.
100%.
He is the one out there selling it. 100%. You're going to be useless. And by the way, this was the point I was going to make, Joe, and then I'm going to throw it over to you. But by the way, the accountant you mentioned that graduated from Hofstra, okay, his job's gone too.
100%. I'm glad you said
if
that.
AI takes over, guess who the defense attorney is going to be and the prosecutor? They're going to be machines that are fed information. You know who the judge is going to be? The judge is going to be the machine that processes all that information and decides whether or not you're guilty of murder. Lawyers think that they're going to survive. Doctors think that they're going to survive this AI revolution. They're all elitists, and they think because they did graduate from Hofstra or Yale or Harvard or Cornell or whatever the case may be, they think AI is only meant to replace you and me. No, AI is going to replace you too. All you're going to need is for a bunch of smart people to build the machine that's going to have a laser that goes into my head and gets a tumor out of there. That's if the government even allows that. But it'll be a machine that does it, and the doctor won't be needed anymore. Did you know that there's a chip company out there? I forgot which one it is. Or actually, I don't want to mention. I do know which one it is, but I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to make it. I just don't want to mention the company. But here's the point. They have a technology, Joe, that could go into your system and tell you what you might get sick from in the future. Did you know that? Using artificial intelligence, okay? That they could go in, they could say, you know what? This is what's wrong with you now, but this is what could be wrong with you in the future. Do you know a doctor who could do that? I don't know a doctor that could do that. I don't know any doctor that could do that. They say, "Oh, you're at risk for this." No, this machine actually tells you you're at risk. You are. This is what you have to worry about. This is what you have to do. It spurts out all the information that a doctor would. My larger point in bringing it up, then, okay, then who the hell needs a doctor? So my point is they think that they're going to escape this. So the doctors, the lawyers, the elitists that listen to Yuval Harari, they think in their mind, yeah, well, that won't be me. I don't load trucks. I don't drive a cab. I don't drive a truck. I don't work at ShopRite. Okay, I don't work at Fry's. I don't have to worry about that stuff. My larger point is, yes, you do. You're going into the meat grinder too.
I want to give a little history in case people don't understand what the Great Reset is all about. And this is the WEF. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Was they predicted this change. Now, these are the people who are running the businesses. So obviously they know more than we do, because they're in, this is their business. This has been talked about for some time. This is what is being referred to as the fourth industrial revolution. The last one, basically, we had basically an agrarian society, and then people during the Industrial Revolution moved into cities. That was a big change. We went to a factory-driven, where we made things, to a service provider economy, where people went in offices. Factories changed. You go into New Jersey, you drive by cities like Patterson, factories are abandoned, and then you have office buildings. Well, now that's becoming obsolete. So this is the fourth industrial, basically revolution. Keep this in mind. The Pope, who is a mathematician, our Pope majored in math. He is a very intelligent man, as all popes are. He picked the name Leo the 14th after Leo the 13th. And one of the driving reasons why is because Leo the 13th talked about workers' rights, and he's concerned about AI. Now, what is the solution of the WEF and the Great Reset? Because this has been talked about for some time. Put people on a universal income. So that class that he mentioned, the useless class, and I want to talk about that in a minute after I get this, they understand that they won't be employable. For instance, 17% of the American economy are men who drive for a living. Truck drivers, UPS drivers, they drive for Amazon. That is 17% of the American economy. All of that is going to be automated soon. No more drivers. What do you do with that guy who has a high school degree, who drove something for a living? What do you do with him? Put him on a universal income. Basically, you're making him a slave. He's on a plantation, and you can control him, because this is what unions do. They tell their people how to vote based upon the wage that they get. Is that how you want to live? So I want to put that out there. That's their solution. And that's not what I want. Number two, notice what happens when a secular humanist gets power, as this man is. No God. I don't care about you. You're a cog. You're a line on an Excel spreadsheet. When you take God out of government, which has happened in the West, it's gone in Europe, and frankly, in America, it's there in name only. That is what you get. A man just like that, who basically says, you fall into a useless class. Well, those people have kids, those people have wives, those people have needs, just like you do. And that is the type of man that you get when you take God out of the equation. He affects you because he's in a different class than you. Don't even pretend like you're in that class, because you're not. You're not. You don't have a PhD in some biosystems. You're not that guy. So that is how you're treated. And that's why I would never want my healthcare to be controlled by that guy who basically says, well, you know, your wife is sick and it's going to cost X, and she may only live, based upon our actuary's chart, 17 more years. So we're not going to have that operation. I'm sorry, useless man. Go back into your useless hole, because you don't mean anything to me.
But then you wonder why. And Joe, I don't want to upset you, because I'm not advocating anything. But you wonder when this happens. This is why the totalitarians of the world want to disarm their citizens.
100% agree. You hit it, Joe. You're right. People miss that boat. When people talk about, and I don't have a gun. Let me first say that. I don't have a gun. I don't even have a small gun, never mind a semi-automatic gun. I used to think, well, why would someone need a gun like that? I know why now. They're not afraid of that person killing kids. They're afraid of that person coming after them.
Yeah.
That is exactly what they're afraid of. They're afraid that 2 million people will show up in Washington, D.C., armed. And that is the only reason why they want to disarm America. And again, I don't support the NRA. I don't have a gun, but I do have eyes. That is exactly what that's about.
When Harari talks about he, who I'm sure is drinking Dom Perignon.
Oh, he's richer than Roosevelt.
And eating foie gras and caviar with Klaus Schwab, all right? The elitist that he is, when he calls me useless, my first reaction, I mean, in my gut, I don't own a gun either, is like, dude, this is why Americans need to keep their guns. Because guess what? You've mentioned this before. If we ever came together with our guns, the government would step in, the oligarchs, and probably annihilate us. Okay, I get that part, because they have the bigger weapons. They're the government, all right? And you're right about that. But the problem is when we own guns, I know how this sounds like a little bit out of a movie, but we're going to take a lot of them down with us.
Well, here's
You're
the
not going
thing.
to kill
I'll tell
me
you
and my
how that would
family.
succeed. I'll tell you what's the biggest fear. It's not that. They don't fear the regular militia but I'll tell you what they do fear. Local sheriffs who have trained men who basically don't go along. So say you had large swaths of America where you have sheriffs who basically control areas. That's basically like, unlike New Jersey, when you live in, say, a place like a rural place, like say Nebraska, you have a sheriff that controls a large area. Say he says, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And say you have 15 of them. So now you have regions of the nation where you have trained armed men who are not going along. And then the 2 million people join them. You see, that's what they are afraid of.
Well, can I throw a theory out to you that I thought for a long time is why is it that police for the left, and let's remember the left in America more overtly represents the oligarchic mindset of the globalists. Okay. Not that the right doesn't. I think the right's a little bit better. Why is it that I've always thought about this. Why are you vilifying police the way you do when the statistics don't bear out your arguments? More white guys are shot. More unarmed white guys are shot than black guys, even on a percentage basis. Like, why do you do this? Why do you attack police? Because why did you call for defunding the police?
Instability. Create instability.
But also for the reason that you just said. What they want and why they defend the FBI now. And remember, the left used to be very critical of the FBI. But why did they defend the FBI? They don't like Sheriff Joe Arpaio when he was here in Maricopa County. They don't like independent-minded sheriffs who say, "Wow, that doesn't seem awfully American to me." No, I'm not going after Joe Pasillo in Scottsdale. Or the sheriff in Essex County is not going after somebody in Essex County, or whatever the case might be. They don't want independent-minded, mostly, yes, conservative. If you look at sheriffs statistically across the country, okay, there's more sheriffs in rural areas, okay, and suburban areas than there are in the big cities. There are just more sheriffs, and they're not in lockstep with all this BS.
You see, they're afraid of that, Joe.
Well, that's why they want to replace them
100%.
with a national police force. They want a national police force. They've always wanted a national police, because a national police force you could control from Washington.
100%. And that is what they're afraid of. And like I said, a group could join that group, and now it's a big group. But I want to take a piece of what you just said and kind of blow it out a little bit. Why would they defund the police? Because clearly it hasn't worked. Look at areas where that has happened. It's visible. It's visible. I commute into New York City. New York is not the same city before COVID. It just isn't. It's visible. You could see it. Why would you do that? Why would you put in DAs that don't prosecute crime? Because that was a strategy. They were not prosecuting crime. It creates instability. And what that does, and that is a strategy, it's a tactic, is it makes people feel unsafe, and they need a strong man for help, and they look to the government. That is the tactic. The tactic, because if you talk to the average person, I'm a bus driver and I live in the Bronx. I work as a cafeteria assistant, and I live in, Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Low-income people, regular, law-abiding, low-income people. They want police, Joe.
Yeah.
They want police. This is not their idea. Talk to them, and you could see those interviews. Go to the south side of Chicago. There's tons of clips. Listen to the people that live there. They want police.
That's right.
But this is to destabilize the city, to then reach for help. I need help. Oh, I'll help you. But in doing so, you give me your freedom and I make you a slave. Right. That's the tactic.
And the same people are decrying Donald Trump sending in the National Guard to keep order in D.C., and he's about to go to Chicago. Did you see the clip of this?
I did. It's funny. I commented. I try not to do this, but I couldn't help myself. Robert George, the professor at Princeton, I'm on his Facebook page, and he made a comment about that. He probably doesn't have legal bounds to do that. But what he can do, what I would do if I was him, I would declare it a national emergency.
That's right. And then he does have the legal
That
justification.
bingo. And then what you say, and this is what Barack Obama did as his tactic, take me to court. It's a national emergency. For the last 10 years, here are the metrics. Every single weekend, 50 to 150 people are shot. Many of them are innocent. This is how many people get killed in this city. It is a national emergency, and I am responding to it, and it is absolute and utter political negligence to not do otherwise.
Right.
Take me to court, and I have good lawyers. Let's
he'll win.
go. And
he'll
that
win.
is what has to happen. And that is the type of brass knuckle politics that we need right now. No, Mr. Newsom, you don't get to destroy a state too damn bad.
Right.
This is what we're doing, and it's a national emergency. Take me to court, and I got a good lawyer because they're on the government dime, and they all went to Harvard. I hope yours did too. So this is what you got to do.
And he's going to be, and legally, like you said, if he declares a national emergency, all he's got to do is go up in front of his lawyers, go up in front of the, let's call it the justices. Let's say it went to the Supreme Court. They say, we could show you, your honors, we could demonstrate to you how the people that are in the states that are running both the state and these individual cities are negligent, and the numbers bear it out. This is what they've done. This is what they don't do. This is how they've broken their oath to protect the people. They've done or not done this whole list of things. What do you expect the president of the United States to do, who also took an oath to protect the people of the United States?
You're spot on, Joe.
What do you expect him to do? Sit by and watch them burn cities down? These black kids are killing each other, and their Uncle Tom, liberal establishment, black leaders, just let them kill each other? And then we're the racists because we want law and order so that those mothers and fathers in the inner city of Chicago don't have to worry about their kids going to get shot in the head walking to school? Their arguments are so evil. It's not even that they're wrong. They're evil that they allow this to happen.
100%. It's in this country, cities like Newark, Camden, sections of St. Louis, sections of Memphis shouldn't exist. And I'll be honest with you, if I was a poor, law-abiding man who had a wife and children living in East St. Louis, living in certain sections, the west side in Newark, living in Camden, living in parts of Memphis, and you told me that you were going to bring in the National Guard, I would shake their hand. Yep. I would bring them coffee. I would say, thank you, sir, that my wife can now get on the bus and not worried about getting raped.
Can I say something to you real quick? What's one of the biggest reasons why they hate social media and they rely on their lackeys in the mainstream media? Because all those interviews with all those people of color where they're saying, I feel kind of safe walking down the street with the National Guard here, would never get to the eyes of the average American person if it wasn't for social media. Because CBS and NBC and MSNBC, which, by the way, needs a rebrand, they just changed their name, CNN and the rest of them, they will never show that black woman in Washington, D.C. saying, I feel kind of safe. I actually feel very safe. I could actually walk down the street, and I could not do that 2 weeks ago. They don't want people to hear from that woman. See, her concerns as an African-American woman in America, they don't mean shit. Sorry, Joe. I know you don't like when I curse, but they don't mean anything when it comes to these people. Yet they try to say that we're the racists because the kids with the guns, see, we want them arrested and taken off the street. Why? I don't live there. Why do I want them taken off the street? Because I don't want them shooting that black woman in the head or killing her kids with a stray bullet. I don't want that for her and her family and her neighbors who are waking up every day trying to go make a living. And these thugs are going around shooting each other. No, there's no law and order, Mayor Bowser. And the president of the United States stepping in. And Joe, I can't wait for it to happen in Chicago. I can't wait to see how Pritzker, as the governor of Illinois, squirms, and Newsom squirms when Trump goes into L.A., okay, and does the same damn thing. I can't wait to see it. I'm going to get my popcorn. I'm getting a bottle of Johnny Walker Black. I'm reclining my seat, and I'm going to sit there for hours and watch them all cry because they had an opportunity to do their job and to protect people, and they didn't. And they do it because of an agenda, which makes it even more evil.
Let's talk about votes and let's talk about tactics for a moment. Latino votes swung to Trump. Black men swung to Trump. And don't think they didn't know that. That is part of the reason why they had to bring in a voting class. And that is exactly why they opened the border. If you think that you believe the rhetoric that they were trying to give people an opportunity, you're crazy, because America already was doing that. We already let in more people than just about any country in the world. Do you think China lets people into their country? No. Do you think Russia lets people into their country? Do you think any country, even before the open border, does what we do? Not even close. That was purely to replace those populations because they knew they were hemorrhaging. And here's another thing, talking about the internet. When the election was going on, people in the south side of Chicago, people in Brooklyn, people in the Bronx, blacks who were watching their resources getting taken by those populations, and they were complaining about them in public meetings. And guess who didn't care? The very people who've been saying for decades that they care about you. Do they care about you? For 50 years, Newark is a wasteland, generation after generation of promises. Nothing changes. They care about you? No. That is a farce. You're living in friggin' fantasy land.
That's why I've said, that's why when they cry racism, that's why, like you, me, many people, I got Teflon now. I'll go right back at them. The Spike Lees of the world, the Al Sharptons of the world, all the race hucksters in the world. I say, you are the Uncle Tom. You are the one that serves in the house of your white liberal slave masters. The Clarence Thomases of the world, the Thomas Souls of the world, they're the field slaves. They're the ones who sought a way to get off the plantation. Who's the mayor of Newark? Ross Baraka, all right? He's an Uncle Tom. He does everything the white liberal establishment tells him.
And he gets rich. And he'll walk away wealthy.
Karen Bass, all these black mayors in these places, they're all doing the bidding of their white liberal slave masters. They're the Uncle Toms. Not the conservative. The conservative black man is saying, I'm out in this field sweating my ass off. All right. And I'm tired of being a slave to that white liberal slave master. I'm getting out of here. And if you say that, you're the racist. But guess what? But they could I take personal affront when they call Clarence Thomas an Uncle Tom.
He's a national treasure.
Of course
Clarence
he is.
Thomas, there should be statues of him. He's a national treasure.
And by the way, it's so gratifying, particularly as Roman Catholics, you and I and many out there, so gratifying that the guys they tried to destroy more than anybody, Thomas and Alito, both spearheaded overturning Roe versus Wade. Just what they deserve, just what the left deserves. The two guys you tried to destroy, and with Clarence Thomas, it was in a completely racist way by racist Joe Biden and racist Ted Kennedy and racist Howell Heflin and Herbert Cole. Remember, Joe, I watched all this stuff back in the day. I know every one of their names. Paul Simon from Illinois, all racist. Didn't say a word when they tried to destroy Clarence Thomas. So gratifying in my soul. That Sam Alito's wife was crying at his hearing, at his Senate hearing, because of the way they tried to vilify him. And those are the two guys that spearheaded overturning Roe versus Wade.
I'll be honest with you.
I love it.
My wife and I actually talked about this today. If I was Clarence Thomas, he's in his 80s, I would retire now. And I would, at the press conference, let them know why. I literally would. I would say, it's been a great run, and I'm retiring now, so we get a 50-year-old judge to replace me who's just like me. Thanks for the treatment. I didn't deserve it. I didn't need it. Have a good day. I would friggin' cut out. That's the press conference. That's how I would play this. After what you did to me, have a good day. I'm done.
I'm done. And you get like a 40-year-old. Well, the left tried to do that with Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Oh,
In other
what
words,
a dude! That is just nothing short of frigging. I can't. It's such an embarrassment. It's absurd.
and the fact is, I think you're right. Trump would, Clarence Thomas. I would say again, I'm not going to tell Clarence Thomas what to do. He's so much smarter than me. But I would say, yeah, you're right. He's 80 years old. Let him enjoy his life and let him handpick his successor. And tell Donald Trump, here's a young black conservative, God willing Catholic like Clarence Thomas is. He's going to be great, and he'll be here longer than Ketanji Brown Jackson, and really stick it in there. You know what? Let's keep it moving because we're coming up on the hour. Let's keep it. We got one more story for you. Let's keep it with. Let's go to the NFL. But here's a black guy I really like.
I have a serious question for the NFL. I really want to know this. I want to know how in the world we ended up going from this to this. This is not anything like what I remember football being like. As a matter of fact, I remember growing up and football was like this. I mean, does anybody else remember that? Is it just me? I mean, the NFL, American football, it used to be the ultimate example of American manliness. And now we're turning it into, I don't know what. It seems like the NFL is trying to purge its fan base or turn its fans off for some reason. It doesn't make any sense until you really look at it and think, well, this is always what happens when you put leftists in charge of anything, no matter what.
I'm so glad we had time to talk about that. You know what would be like a dream for me? Like, aside from the fact that Roger Goodell just has to go. He's a political animal is what he is, okay? And he is a culture warrior. You know, he's just against us. See, Roger Goodell, he's part of the culture war. See, because when you do this, what person who watches the NFL really wants to see that gay cheerleader? In other words, is it like seriously, or the transsexual one that just, by the way, quit? I forgot which team. Okay, it's a black guy pretending to be a woman. The first transgender cheerleader, I believe, quit. Who wants to see that on the sideline? Who?
Could I give you the answer to that?
Yeah, please.
It doesn't matter. Because what that is about, that's also something people should be looking from a practical perspective and from a very utilitarian position. You're asking a good question, as that gentleman was. You don't matter. Corporate sponsorship matters, and that's what they want. And that's what Goodell is giving him, and that's why he's doing a great job in the eyes of the power brokers of the NFL, because you don't matter. They know, because gambling drives viewership. It's $1 billion industry. People are going to watch anyway. So you don't matter. You see, people don't see it through that lens, but that is exactly what that message is telling you. You don't matter. And you spend your Sunday and you spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and you don't matter. That is exactly what the globalists say when they put in a Mark Trudeau or a Mark Carney or a puppet Biden who didn't know frigging where he was.
Right.
You don't matter. And people don't see it, or they choose not to see it, and they ignore it. And this is the danger. We are not an informed people. We don't have our eyes open, and we are getting robbed and raped. And the future of our children is disappearing right before our very eyes. And
you know what would happen? What would happen? And again, my hand is raised. I'm guilty. Okay. I spend money on things I shouldn't spend money on. I do. I'm not talking about expensive things. I mean in that regard, in a materialist sense. But what would happen? Let's say, just use me for an example. Me and 10 million other men exactly like me, both on a level of education, my age, my level of income. Let's say me and there's got to be 10 million of me and you out there, okay, at least. What happens if we just 10 million? Doesn't even have to be half the country, or let's say of all the males in the country. If we only ate what rather than go out for dinner, we only went to the store and we cooked every meal at home. Okay. We didn't buy a lot of the crap they sell in the store. We shut off all of our TVs, everything. Okay. That includes clicks on YouTube to podcasters we like, including Joe and Joe. If we stopped doing that, if we started to read, okay, rather than scroll, like E. Michael Jones says, stop scrolling, start reading. We didn't go out and we didn't spend money on dinners. We didn't put on the NFL. We didn't put on the NBA. We didn't put on the MLB. We didn't watch the Miss America pageant. We didn't do all the things, very little, by the way, very little things, okay, that we could do. That if we shut down for an even very short period of time, okay, we'd have them nervous. I'm not saying we'd beat them. We'd have them nervous. I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this. E. Michael Jones points this out all the time. When the Legion of Decency threatened to not go to watch particular movies, okay, because they violated the production code. Warner, from Warner Brothers, Harry Warner, I think it was Harry Warner, according to E. Michael Jones, was losing $100,000 a weekend just in the city of Philadelphia because Catholics wouldn't go and see certain movies that were being produced. And that's why they caved on the production code. You see how just in my larger point, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Joe. You see how just in one city, for a very brief period of time, a weekend, just one weekend, okay, could show some of the oligarchs out there what we're capable of. People didn't go see a movie. Warner Brothers loses $100,000 in a weekend in one city. What happens when it goes to Newark, New York, Detroit, Chicago, LA, and all these other cities? And people say, you know what, we're not going to go see those movies. Now he's losing $100,000 a weekend in 10 different cities. And then it extends from there. Now you're losing a lot of money. Now you're going to have to come to an accommodation. Nobody, keeping it with the NFL for a second, and others, nobody's willing to do that. To say, you know what, you've offended me now once too much. Now, if you or I ever have the audience that's even remotely the size of a Joe Rogan, or a Michael Knowles or any of these larger people, believe me when I tell you, boycotts are going to be our middle name and calling for them and sticking to them and spearheading them.
100%.
And go ahead. Let me finish.
Everything you said is right.
That's my point about using the production code for an example. Roger Goodell gets away with what he gets away with because we all turn on and watch the New York Jets. Not you, but I do.
Money moves the dial in everything because money is their God. We've seen this with the woke revolution. Notice how they all backed away after Trump became the president. You see it. CNN did, the Washington Post did. All that virtue signaling, people who actually believed that they cared about your cause, they betrayed you. They did. That should tell you something. Why? Because power and money is their God. And you control them when you don't give it to them. That is a fact. That's how unions work. Do you think truck drivers, because of the Teamsters Union, Joe Pasillo's father was a Teamster, do you think that they're paid as well as they're paid because they like them? No, they are paid that way because they're united and they will walk off the job. So they are forced. They use leverage. And that's the name of the game. And that's what we have to do. So what do they do to keep that from happening? They divide us. They use the press. They create camps. They use propaganda. And we lose our focus. And when we lose our focus, we lose our unity. And when we lose our unity, we lose our power. And that is what's been going on in America for decades.
And
that is why the middle class is disappearing.
Well, you said it right, because the middle class, you see, they convinced a lot of people that somehow, some way, I hate the guy who's in my exact same economic level, but he's black or he's Latino, and let's say they say I have white skin. I reject that label of a white guy, but let's say I'm a white guy. All right. They try to pit us against each other. In the meantime, my interest and the Latinos' interest and the black guys' interest are all the same. We just want to raise our kids. We just want to make a living. We want to provide for our families. Why are you pitting me against that guy? And it's worked. It's wearing off. You made mention of that. It is wearing off. You're seeing more black men leaning more conservative, or at least let's say not Democrat. Hispanic men or Hispanics in general are firmly, I mean, I think the figure is 60%, all right, that they lean towards the right. I think that number is just going to grow, all right. But they've played a masterful game for the last, I don't know, however many decades, and it's good. Like we always say, social media and new media is all good, because it lets people know all the different voices that are out here saying, no, CNN does not control the game, nor does NBC, ABC, MSNBC, CBS. No, their days are over. Their days are over. And you made a good point. CNN is trying to sound more moderate. I love Scott Jennings, but I'm still not watching CNN.
Oh, I don't watch that crap.
I love Scott Jennings. I think he's great.
It's like the WWF. It's ridiculous. I'd rather see the Grand Wizard of Wrestling get suplexed by friggin' Bob Backlund.
All right, we're going to call it a day here at the front line with Joe and Joe. It is Sunday afternoon. We want to thank all of those out there for joining us. Robert, Antonella, a bunch of new people in the chat room. We really appreciate it. We had a decent audience going on, even though we went on an off time. But remember, wherever you're seeing this video, help us out. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. We're going to leave you with a clip from John Kennedy, and we will be going on, at least according to plan, this week, Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time, and we'll go across social media. Thanks once again. And remember, until the next time, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
I believe that America's and Louisiana's future can be better than our present or our past. I believe that. I believe that we're only as good as our dreams, and that we're only as valuable as our children. But I'm not going to bubble wrap it, folks. The water in Washington, D.C. is not going to clear up until you get the pigs out of the creek. And that's just a fact. And I've seen them. All 4 feet and their snout in the trough. And nobody's coming to save us but ourselves. I hope you'll help me fight for our state and our country. You know, so many of the Washington elites, they call us deplorables. Or smelly Walmart shoppers. I love Walmart. They think we're not real people, but we are real people. And we need to get real mad. We need to get real mad.